Doc, if we can just deal with general injuries, obviously you got quite a lot of your frontline players all done. Can you run us through who's injured and exactly how long they'll be out for?
Okay. As you know, if we go back to Kolisi, Kolisi is recovering very well. He's 4 weeks away from return to play currently. So his was a 10 to 12 week injury, a grade 3 medial collateral ligament tear. The second injury we had was Bongi Mbonambi, who tore off his hamstring. That was a surgical case, and at this stage he's on track, he's doing well. However, it was a severe injury, and he's expected to be out from the time of injury for between 4 and 5 months. Then Pieter-Steph du Toit, basically he had a medical emergency after the Blues game. He had a hematoma that developed into an acute compartment syndrome. It's incredibly rare. There have only been 43 that have been listed in the literature. It's a medical emergency because if you don't pick it up early, they lose blood supply to their leg and they lose the leg. So within 15 minutes of him coming off the field and assessing him, we realized that he was at risk of this particular rare condition. He was taken straight to Vincent Pallotti, where we had a vascular surgeon waiting, and he was operated on that night. Unfortunately, as I said, it's very unusual, very rare, but they had to cut through the muscle to release the pressure, and they were only able to close that leg 10 days after his initial injury. So he's at home, he's recovering well, and we expect him to be back based on the surgeon's report at around 3 months. And then from this weekend, unfortunately, we sustained 2 big injuries. Herschel Yankees fractured his fibula, so he is undergoing he's basically treating him conservatively, but while he's being treated conservatively, he's got a little ankle injury, so we're just going to clean his ankle out while he's waiting, but expected return to play is 3 months. And then finally, we had JD Schickerling, who has a muscle tear in the arm. It's a muscle called coracobrachialis. That's a 4-week injury. And then Stephen Kitshoff has torn his pectoral muscle and requires surgery. So he has a large injury and expected return to play 4 months.
You can explain what that means.
Yeah, John, I was about to say, you don't look very happy with, I mean, it's all your frontline players that's gone.
No, this is where I get slightly not frustrated. Firstly, I think Doc deserves enormous credit for Pieter-Steph. I think had a rugby player lost his leg, that would have been devastating for the game. Obviously, Pieter-Steph, but the game worldwide. So, and if it wasn't for the timely intervention, I think Doc reported that half the 43 cases had resulted in that.
It was less than that, but I mean, it's still something. It's not common, so it's not something you think of.
Yeah. So each one of these, if a pectoral muscle goes off, or these are all deeply traumatic injury. Nothing to do with load. The guys are just these 2 injured. We just come off a bye weekend. It's just something that you can't explain. Yeah, and it's something like we, Doc will chat to SARugbymag that we had 6 guys who played in the World Cup final. 5 are now, obviously spent most of the money on them, but 5 are now out on next long-term injuries. I'll see us getting closer and closer. But I don't know there's a statistical chance of that. It's really freakish. It's because none of them there's not one load, one medical management, training, any conditioning issue whatsoever. You saw CS tackle. You saw Bongi's leg got bent back. Herschel fractures a tibia. It's terrible. And the way, so and that's what I'm really proud of this group's resilience. I know there's a lot of, and I stand to be justifiably credit and hype around the Sharks, but I think when we ran out into that game on Saturday, it feels like I'm talking about rugby now, and we heard about our Springbok pack. The reality is there were 3 Springboks in the Sharks pack, 3 in the Stormers pack. If you took 3 Springboks like we had out of the Springbok team, let alone a franchise, we took 3 Springboks out of our pack before we played the log leaders away. I actually thought we showed to lose both your halfbacks by half time, to lose your left foot when the only threat in that game was the kicking game, to lose it 19 minutes in. I think we showed enormous resilience. We're not the Stormers that we were at the start of the season. that's just the reality of these freakish round of injuries. Take 5 World Cup finals out of any team, it's just going to be. So I'm actually proud of our resist. Credit to the Sharks were great. They had 9 Springboks running on the field. We had 6. They had 6 in the back line plus Fussy. And I think the way that's I think we did well in that fight in the circumstances and showed enormous resilience. You take any halfbacks out of any team that's a kicking game before half time, you're going to be under pressure. So it's a tough position we're in. One thing we do have got, and I'm not sure what other franchises have got, we've got depth, and I think we showed some degree of character. I think also it's important. There's a lot of what I've learned about sport. There's a lot of emotion, and there were maybe, like I said at the time, we weren't playing very well and possibly overhyped early on. I don't think we know, that the gap is as disparate as people suggest. Reality is in the competition. If we're a normal society, which it no longer is, so it's Harry Potter stuff. We'd have a game in hand. Let's say we won the game in hand. Let's say hypothetically, and I'm not saying we would have because we are decimated. Let's say we won that game in hand. We got 21 points, and then we got to play the Sharks at Newlands. Let's say hypothetically we showed character with all those guys. Win that game at Newlands, who's top of the conference? It's not. I think we must keep our sort of really reasonably calm head about it. I'm really chuffed with the resilience of the group. As I say, we'll sit with SA Rugby. I'm going to sit with Rusty later this week and discuss these injuries, which are just almost just inexplicable. There.
Yeah, I think you've got to look at whenever we look at injuries and we look at patterns, there's a concern that is there something we can do better as the medical staff. And broadly speaking, you have overuse injuries, which are load injuries, and you have traumatic injuries. And if you look at the mechanism of injury, there's no consistent mechanism, and they've all been traumatic. So Bongi getting his leg caught in a ruck and hyperextending at the knee, there's no condition in the world that can change that. Pieter-Steph's injury, same thing. In fact, all the injuries we've had, there isn't a common pattern, there isn't a common body part, there isn't a commonality. So, to answer a question, around the Springboks, is there overplaying? Is there overload? The short answer is no. We've played 7 games. We've had a bye. Very few of them have. Sia's played 40 minutes. So have we overplayed him? If you looked at that mechanism, the answer is no. It was an unusual mechanism with a player who wasn't expecting to be hit. So I think I'm comfortable, discussing with Rassi, etc., that there's nothing that we could have done to prevent it. But obviously we have checks and balances within our own system, and we're always looking to do better and improve. And if there is anything we ever find, we'll address it. But to this stage, unfortunately, it's all traumatic injuries. It's all within the nature of the rugby being a collision sport.